Hi, I'm Coach Tracy Knight, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the first of the 4 steps in the forum. This is going to be about venting and soothing. Now, this is where we spend the mass majority of our time because this can be the biggest hangup if when we're in a high stakes conversation, a crucial conversation, in a disagreement with other people, that things can really get hung up if we don't learn how to vent and soothe one another. Okay, so let's jump in. So, the goal for venting and soothing is to acknowledge and release pent up feelings and emotions. It is also to, and that is for the venter. And then also for the venter is to allow yourself to be understood and to be supported. On the witness side of the house, the purpose of venting and soothing is to learn how to emotionally manage yourself because sometimes people are venting because of something they believe you did or how you've shown up. So we learn how to depersonalize someone's trigger. We learn how to listen carefully using active listening and empathic listening. We learn how to offer or extend support that the person is asking for, not what we offer to them. We learn how to suspend judgment towards others. So we learn how to be present in a relationship. Now, what I want you to know is there are some cautions about venting and soothing. Very quickly, for the venting, whenever you're venting, please be mindful of being unsoothable, meaning sometimes people come into a space wanting to be right more than wanting to be in the relationship and heal. So being unsoothable has to do with being addicted to that victim villain mindset. You're holding on to it. Or being addicted to being a complainer, wanting to stay where things are and complaining about them. Or being addicted to lower vibrational feelings like shame, guilt, fear, anger. And sometimes you've been there for so long, you don't even know what else is available to you. But there are higher vibrational feelings to experience like love and joy and peace and understanding and connection. The venting person can also be unsoothable because they want to control people or the circumstances. Please be mindful of that because the process will not work if you are stuck in any of those. The witness, please be mindful of practicing empathy. Lack of empathy or compassion will derail the process because the venter is being vulnerable when they are venting. Judgment and defensiveness. Please be mindful of your posture, your eye contact, the position of your arms, your facial expressions, any judgment that you have coming up about what they should or should not be doing. Being mindful of your need to fix, control, or to apologize. It is not necessary at this point. We will get to that. Your need to be right, to overtalk, to interrupt, or sarcasm. All of these approaches will derail the process. So please be mindful of this when you're going through the process. Okay, venting. I'm going to be taking you through the 2 parts, the 2 people in it, and then we're going to go through the script very quickly, but you will have the script at your disposal. Venting involves at least 2 people. And it doesn't always have to be the person that you're upset with. You could get somebody to hold space for you just because you need to get it out. So it doesn't actually have to be the person who you have a beef with. Okay. So the venting person is the person with the complaint, with the issue, with the concern. And their role in the venting process is to allow their heart, which is where wounds sit, where triggers sit, or the ego, where old beliefs sit. This is also where judgment sits, is where we believe, where expectations sit. The ego and the heart want to have their say, and we want to give them the space to have their say. So your job, venter, is to practice honoring your feelings and your perception of what is the truth. It is your perception. It is not the truth. It is just your truth. For the witness, your job is to hold space. That's what we call holding the space for the person to vent. But you become the observer and the supporter in this role. You are to offer empathy to listen without interruption, to surrender judgment, and to not take things personally, okay? Even though they may say things, recognize that it's really, a lot of times, it's just our wound that's talking, okay? Now, let's get into the script, which is there. So there's multiple steps in the script, and the language is very important. So step 1A is to set the space. So when you approach the person, venter, what you will say is, are you willing to hold space for a vent? And then the witness will say yes or no. They have the right to say no. They will not hold space, that they do not want to hear your vent. That is okay. You can find someone else. If the witness says no, find somebody else to be your witness. If they say yes, then proceed to the next step. The next is 1B, owning your state of being, the intensity of your feelings, and the release of blame of another. The goal here is not to blame another person. The goal is to get out your perception of things. So the venting person will say, no one has done anything wrong. I know that feels off-putting, but the reality of it is, I want you to remember that the mind, the ego, and the heart have a perception that they've been wrong, but that doesn't make it the truth. It is just your perception. So if you just start with no one has done anything wrong, that is subduing the ego. No one has done anything wrong. This is just my heart or my ego speaking, okay? I am at a level, whatever you are. 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest, okay? Will you still hold space for me, witness? Then the witness is, while actively listening to this, gets to decide whether or not they want to proceed. If you're at a 10, they may say, I don't think this is a good time. A lot of times they will say, yes, I will still hold space for you. Next, 1C is the actual vent. For 3 to 5 minutes, or if you have longer, fine, you can take that. But 3 to 5 minutes is probably a solid amount of time. So the venting person will emotionally share their perception of what happened, what is upsetting them, okay? Try to keep the focus on you instead of using like you did this and you did that. Focusing more on my experience was this. The way I felt was this, okay? Because that's you taking ownership. You want to name your feelings as best you can. I feel angry. I feel sad. I am disappointed. I am afraid. Cite the impact of the experience, the impact that this has had on you, on your life, on your confidence, whatever it is. Cite the impact that it has had. Maybe it's a loss of trust in the relationship. Whatever it is, cite what the impact is. Once you complete your vent at the end of the 5 minutes, then you will say to the witness, I am complete. That way they know that they can now interject. Now, the witness, while the venter is venting, you will be actively listening. It's okay to take notes, and especially around key points, and to identify any feelings that are coming up, because they may ask you to paraphrase. So you want to go back and be able to reference that. You want to refrain from interrupting or judging. And you want to depersonalize. Recognize that it's just their ego, it's just their heart needing to get it out. So what they are doing is emotionally throwing up. Unfortunately, we don't like the analogy of throwing up, but that's what they are doing, is they're getting it out so they're no longer sponging. The next step is soothing. Soothing is where the witness offers support in a different way through a series of techniques. Now, soothing is just our spirit, our higher self's way of gently comforting the hidden trigger, because the trigger is trying to come up and express itself. So a soothing technique is just a way to kind of soothe that trigger. It really, truly is an act of love and kindness, and it helps to build trust in the relationship. It earns relationship credits when you can hold space for a person when they are emotionally kind of unhinged. For you to be able to stay calm and support them, that builds trust in the relationship, and trust is the undergirding of all relationships. By generously soothing the ego in the heart in the moment, giving it what it needs, what happens is you de-escalate it, and we can ultimately get to the rational mind. So it's okay for you to not agree with anything that they have to say. It is just their perception. Even with empathy, you can understand how they may feel that way, even if you don't agree with it. Okay? All right. I want to share with you some soothing techniques. So the venter will request one of these techniques. One is reassurance. They may want to be reassured. If they ask for reassurance, ask what they would like to be reassured about. They may ask you to repeat back. That is paraphrasing, summarizing what they said around the vent. I use this a lot in my relationship to make sure that my significant other understands what I'm saying, because words mean different things to different people. Reality check. This is the person may ask for an alternative way of viewing the solution. This is synonymous with, am I crazy? Are you seeing it this way? So a reality check about, is there a different way of looking at this? Then there is empathy. Empathy is just that, where you offer yourself up an example of how you understand how they may feel because you have experienced something similar, or I can understand how you would feel that way. It would feel off-putting. It could feel, sad. It could feel like sadness, for this to have happened to you. And I'm really sorry you've gone through that. I know what that feels like. So you're offering empathy, right? Simulation is a role play. Sometimes people need to see it played out on the stage. So the witness may play out how they experience the situation. So the inventor can tell them what they want simulated. Sometimes people just need a hug. They just need a hug. So we can extend that, but that must be done with consent. You would like a hug? How would you like for me to hug you? Would you like, how close would you like for me to be? Sometimes it's a handshake. That's okay too. The point is, touch allows us to create connection. And the last technique is an open-ended question. So the inventor may say, I would like to ask an open-ended question. Or they may say, I want you to ask me an open-ended question. And so that gets the conversation going. Now, let me tell you something very, very quickly about these soothing techniques. The process here is really meant to keep going until the person has completely de-escalated. But depending on the session that you're in, we may just be simulating this. So you may not have time to keep going back and forth. But basically, the person will pick the first soothing technique that they think will be most impactful for them and use that. So if you're short on time, please do pick the technique that you think will be most important. But when I'm doing this with my significant other, I might go through 2 or 3 of these techniques. I always start with repeat back. Then a lot of times I ask him for empathy. And then sometimes I ask for things like open-ended questions. So you may go through multiple iterations of this to get the ego and the heart to de-escalate. But in the essence of time, please do pick the technique that works, that you think will work best for you. Now, here is the script for the soothing. After the person has vented, and they have said, I am complete, then the witness will say, thank you for sharing. How can I support you? And then pause. Then the venter is going to say, would you be willing to, and enter the soothing technique that they want? Would you please recap for me? Or will you please empathize with me? Okay. The witness can then say yes or no, accept or decline that technique. If they decline, select a different technique. Then what is going to happen is the witness will then proceed with the agreed upon technique. And then after that is over with, the witness will say, did that support you? What level does that bring you to? From there, the venter will say, that did help me. I was at an 8 and now I'm really at about a 4 now. Okay. And so our goal if we had infinite amount of time is to get them down to a 0 or a 1. But any kind of de-escalation really helps to move us through finding resolution. Okay. So if you are a part of a class and taking this, your job as a pair is to decide who's going to be partner A and partner B, then to follow the script. And then once you have been through one round of venting and soothing, then reverse the roles and go through and follow the script again to vent and then soothe with the other person. Once you have completed a complete 2 rounds with each person having had their vent and been soothed, I just want you to entertain. What helped you feel understood? What was it about the process or what the person said or did that helped you, helped de-escalate you in some way? What made listening easy or difficult for you when you were in that role? And then how often do we listen to understand versus listening to respond? Did you feel any impulse to want to jump in and do something like fix it for them? The reason I want to lift this up is so that you can be mindful as you go forward and practicing the venting and soothing technique. You can be mindful of some of the habits that you have so that you can then begin to build the muscle to be a great conflict resolution person, a person who can find conflict resolution. All right. I'm going to see you in the next video.